Jack Mercer's boots crunched against the red, jagged soil of the unknown planet. Smoke still rose from the wreck of his ship, a smoking, twisted skeleton of metal that had once carried him safely across the stars. He took a deep breath, feeling the cold, dry wind cut across his face. The sensors on his suit still flickered weakly, warning him of unstable energy readings in the area. His mission had been routine, a scouting assignment near a newly discovered system, but nothing about this planet was normal. The sky was dark, streaked with violet clouds that glowed faintly, as if the very atmosphere carried hidden electricity. Strange rock formations jutted upward like broken teeth. Jack's instincts screamed at him that danger was near, though he saw no movement yet. Just a survey, he muttered to himself, rubbing the back of his neck. Just a survey. But deep down he knew something was wrong. Suddenly a sound cut through the wind. A soft hum, rhythmic and steady, growing louder with every second. Jack froze, scanning the horizon with the sensors built into his helmet. Shadows began to move. From the jagged rocks, figures emerged. They were tall, taller than any human, with sleek armored bodies that shimmered faintly in the violet light. Their eyes glowed like molten silver, and their movements were precise, almost unnaturally smooth. Jack's hand went to the blaster at his hip. He had been trained for combat, for situations where death could appear in the blink of an eye. But even he felt a chill as the figures approached. They surrounded him slowly, forming a perfect semicircle. The wind carried the faint sound of metal brushing against metal as they moved, a sound almost like a whisper of intent. Then one of them stepped forward. Its face, though alien, had a sharpness that suggested intelligence and cruelty. It tilted its head, looking at him with an expression that seemed almost amused. And then it spoke. Its voice was low, deliberate, and translated into his suit's audio perfectly. "Who goes first?" Jack's heart skipped a beat, but he forced himself to meet the alien's gaze. He noticed their weapons, energy blades, and plasma rifles, each designed to kill with terrifying efficiency. A normal human would have panicked, but Jack had faced overwhelming odds before. He had survived situations that should have ended him. And even now, despite the fear, a spark of defiance lit his chest. "You don't scare me," he said, keeping his voice steady. "I'll go first." The alien's smile widened, showing sharp edges of teeth not quite like human teeth. The others shifted slightly, and Jack realized that this was no random attack. This was a test, a deadly challenge where only the strongest or smartest would survive. He backed slowly, keeping his hands near his weapons. His mind raced. He had to find some advantage. The ground beneath him was uneven, with jagged rocks that could be used for cover but also traps if he wasn't careful. The alien in front, the apparent leader, seemed to notice his hesitation and tilted its head again, as if expecting him to make a mistake. The leader raised its weapon, but instead of firing, it gestured to another alien behind it. The translator in his suit picked up the message clearly. "We will take turns. Each will face you in combat. If you survive, you may leave. If not, you die." Jack swallowed hard. The words were simple, but the meaning was deadly clear. He glanced around at the aliens. Each one looked different, slightly in size, weapon design, and even in their movement. He would need more than just luck to survive this. The first alien stepped forward, its energy blade glowing a bright, ominous blue. Jack's training kicked in. He crouched, ready to dodge, to move, to think. He couldn't outmatch it in raw strength, but he could use strategy. The ground, the rocks, the broken pieces of his ship, all could be turned to his advantage. The fight began with a sudden charge. The alien moved with speed, faster than any human could move naturally, but Jack anticipated the attack. He sidestepped, letting the energy blade slash past him, and rolled behind a rock. Sparks flew as the weapon struck the stone. Jack's hands moved quickly, grabbing a piece of jagged metal from the ground. He lunged, aiming for a joint in the alien's armor. The alien twisted, countering easily, but Jack's move had done something unexpected. It forced the alien to adjust, breaking the rhythm of its attack. The alien's companions watched silently. There was no sound of emotion, only the steady hum of energy weapons and the wind over the red rocks. Jack realized that he had to end this quickly. Prolonged fights would only tire him. He baited the alien toward a narrow crevice, a gap between rocks that forced its movements to become restricted. With a well-timed feint, he caused the alien to stumble slightly. Then, using his improvised weapon, he struck at a weak spot in its armor. The alien hissed but did not collapse. It retreated, backing toward its squad. Jack's chest heaved. Sweat and dust coated his face, but he kept his posture ready. The alien leader stepped forward again. Interesting, it said. Few humans show such skill. Few survive even one encounter. Jack wiped the sweat from his visor. I'm not most humans, he replied. The leader's smile widened again. Perhaps not. But will you survive the next? Before Jack could respond, another alien moved into position. This one was larger, with long whip-like appendages ending in glowing tips. Jack noticed immediately that this fight would require different tactics. He couldn't simply dodge and strike. He had to use the terrain, his wits, and his speed. He glanced at the broken ship, the jagged rocks, the uneven ground. His mind raced with possibilities. He could climb, fall, trap, misdirect. Anything to survive. Anything to gain an edge. The alien lunged. Jack rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a strike that could have cut him in half. He grabbed a rock and threw it not at the alien's body, but at a sharp outcrop nearby. The alien's appendage struck the rock, sending sparks flying and giving Jack a split-second advantage. He darted forward, striking at the base of the appendage, causing the alien to shriek and retreat. The squad's eyes widened. If aliens could show surprise, this one did. Jack smiled briefly to himself. He had learned quickly. Observation, speed, and cleverness mattered as much as strength. The leader raised its hand again, signaling the end of this round. You are quick, human, but speed alone will not save you forever. Jack nodded. He was ready to admit he was tired, but he refused to show fear. He could feel the tension in the air, the weight of dozens of alien eyes on him. Yet he also felt something else, a strange excitement. He had faced impossible odds before. He had survived situations that seemed hopeless. And he knew, deep inside, that humans were capable of more than most beings in the galaxy realized. He took a deep breath, scanning the area once more. The squad surrounded him fully now, weapons ready. But there was a rhythm to their movements, a pattern he could read. They were strong, deadly, and intelligent, but perhaps predictable. Humans, after all, thrived on adaptation. Who goes next? Jack asked, his voice steady, almost challenging. The alien leader's eyes narrowed, but it did not speak. Instead, it gestured to another member of the squad. Jack tensed, ready for the next confrontation. He knew it would be harder, stronger, faster, deadlier, but he also knew that fear would not help him survive. Courage, wit, and quick thinking would. Jack shifted his stance, keeping his weight low, his senses alert. The alien approached, energy weapons humming, appendages poised to strike. Jack's mind raced through possibilities, looking for weaknesses, openings, anything to give him an edge. He had survived the first test. Now the real challenge was beginning, and somewhere deep in his chest, beneath the adrenaline and the fear, Jack felt the spark of something more, a spark of human defiance. Humans were never meant to be predictable. Humans survived where others failed, and no alien death squad, no matter how skilled or deadly, would ever understand the true strength of a human spirit. As the second alien lunged, Jack moved. Not with panic, but with purpose. Not with fear, but with determination. The dance of survival had begun, and he would not back down. The fight echoed across the barren landscape, sparks and energy flares lighting the crimson ground. The aliens might have thought they were hunting a human, but Jack knew the truth. Humans were not just prey. Humans were fighters, survivors, and sometimes the impossible was just the beginning. And in the midst of an alien death squad's circle, with weapons poised and eyes gleaming, Jack Mercer was ready to prove it. Jack Mercer barely had time to catch his breath before the next alien advanced. This one was larger than the first, its armor thick and dark, pulsing faintly with energy. Its eyes glowed a sharper silver, and its weapon, a long, flexible energy whip, unfurled like a living thing, hissing as it moved. Jack studied it for a moment, noting its range and the way it moved with uncanny precision. A simple dodge would not be enough this time. The wind carried a low hum, almost like anticipation. Jack could feel the weight of dozens of alien eyes on him, all waiting, all calculating. He scanned the jagged terrain around him. Sharp rocks, crevices, the remnants of his ship. They could all be tools if he used them wisely. His mind raced, considering his options. He didn't need to match their strength. He needed to outthink them. The alien lunged with a swift strike, its whip slicing through the air like a live snake. Jack rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a strike that would have cut through him. Sparks flew as the weapon struck the ground and the alien hissed in frustration. Jack had one moment to act. He grabbed a jagged piece of metal from the wreckage and hurled it, aiming for a weak point in the alien's armor. The piece struck its shoulder joint, sending a flash of sparks into the air. The alien recoiled, surprised by the human's quick thinking. Jack didn't pause. He sprinted toward a narrow crevice between two rocks, forcing the alien to follow in the confined space. The whip struck the walls, sending fragments of stone flying, but Jack used the obstacle to limit the alien's movement. With a swift kick, he aimed at the base of the whip, causing it to twist awkwardly. The alien stumbled but quickly recovered, its eyes narrowing as it studied him. "They learn fast," Jack muttered to himself, ducking behind another rock for cover. From the semicircle, the alien leader watched silently, its smile sharp but restrained. The squad had come to this planet expecting an easy prey, but this human was unlike any they had faced. Jack noticed subtle changes in their formation, slight adjustments in their stances as they observed him. They were intelligent and adaptive, but so was he. The next alien stepped forward. This one was smaller but quicker, its movements almost a blur. Jack realized he couldn't rely on strength or even reach. Speed would be the key. As the alien lunged, he ducked and rolled, using his momentum to spring up and land on a boulder above it. From his new position, he could see the battlefield clearly. He tossed small rocks to distract the alien, causing it to flinch at every movement. With a quick leap, he struck the alien's leg with a sharp piece of metal, forcing it to lose balance. Jack landed lightly, his senses fully alert. He was beginning to see a pattern. Each alien had a strength or preferred style of combat, and each of them underestimated him. They assumed that a human could be broken with brute force. They hadn't realized that humans thrived on unpredictability, ingenuity, and courage. The leader's voice crackled in his suit again. "Your skills are unusual for your species," it said. "Few survive this long. Few humans show such adaptability." Jack smirked. "I'm not most humans," he said quietly, keeping his focus on the battlefield. The squad shifted, a sign of acknowledgement, but no weapons lowered. Another alien advanced, this one wielding a dual plasma blade. Its approach was cautious, calculated, as if it expected him to make the first mistake. Jack adjusted his stance, crouching low to the ground. He had no illusions, one wrong move could end him. But fear didn't guide him. Observation did. The alien struck, fast and precise. Jack dodged, rolled, and twisted, narrowly avoiding each blow. He realized it was counting on him to attack first. Instead, he let it overextend, and then he feinted a strike, forcing the alien to misstep. Sparks flew as its blade struck the rock, giving Jack a chance to kick forward, hitting the alien in the chest. It stumbled backward, clearly frustrated. Jack's lungs burned, his arms ached, but he remained calm. He had learned long ago that panic was death. Focus was life. Each alien had strength, speed, and weapons far beyond what a normal human could withstand. But humans had resilience, strategy, and imagination. And in that moment, Jack knew that those traits were more powerful than any weapon. The leader raised its hand, signaling a pause. "Impressive," it said. "You survive with intelligence and cunning. But can you continue?" Jack nodded, not because he was confident, but because he had no other choice. Each battle had taught him something about their fighting style. He had to use their own habits against them, exploit weaknesses they did not even know they had. The next opponent was unlike the others. It was massive, its armor dark and almost organic, moving as if alive. Its weapon was a heavy energy hammer, capable of smashing through rock. Jack's mind raced. He couldn't outrun this one. He couldn't dodge a direct strike. He needed a plan. He observed the alien carefully. Its swings were powerful but predictable. Each attack required time to recover. Jack waited for the moment it overextended, then darted to the side, rolling behind a broken piece of his ship. Using debris as cover, he baited it into a tight space. The alien swung, smashing the metal beside him, sending a cloud of dust into the air. Jack seized the moment. He leapt onto its back, striking at vulnerable joints with all his strength. The alien roared but could not reach him in the confined space. The squad watched, astonished. Humans were small, weak in appearance, yet here was one turning the battlefield against the strongest of their kind. Jack realized the lesson that every alien would soon learn. Survival depended not on size or weapon, but on intelligence, creativity, and courage. Jack's suit beeped, warning him of low energy levels. He had been fighting, running, and improvising for what felt like hours. Sweat poured down his face, mixing with dust and blood from small cuts. But he refused to yield. Every human instinct told him that retreat meant death, but perseverance meant hope. The alien leader stepped forward, closing the distance. Its voice was calm, almost curious. "You are remarkable, human. Few have survived this long. Few show such determination. Tell me, what drives you to continue?" Jack wiped the sweat from his visor. "The same thing that drives every human who faces impossible odds," he replied. "The will to survive and the refusal to be controlled by fear." The leader studied him for a long moment. Then it nodded slightly, almost as if acknowledging a truth it had not considered before. Jack noticed subtle shifts in the squad's formation. They were no longer attacking recklessly. They were cautious, measuring, studying him. Respect, or at least recognition, had begun to replace their initial confidence. The alien leader gestured to the rest of the squad. One by one they approached, each testing him in a different way. Some used speed, some brute force, some weapons he had never seen. Each encounter forced Jack to adapt, improvise, and survive. He used every skill he had learned as a soldier, every lesson in strategy and observation, and even a few tricks from human ingenuity that the aliens could not anticipate. By the time the sun dipped below the jagged horizon, Jack had faced half the squad. He was exhausted, battered, and bleeding in places, but he was alive. More importantly, he had learned something crucial. These aliens were powerful, yes, but predictable in their confidence. They did not expect humans to think creatively, to use weakness as strength to turn the battlefield itself into a weapon. The leader approached him once more, its glowing eyes fixed on Jack. "You are unlike any human we have encountered. Perhaps this is why you survive. Perhaps it is your mind that protects you, not your body." Jack straightened, ignoring the fatigue that threatened to pull him down. "Humans survive because we adapt," he said. "We don't just fight what's in front of us. We think, we learn, and we never give up. That is why we are dangerous." The leader's smile widened slightly. "Dangerous indeed," it said. Then with a wave of its hand, the squad withdrew slightly, giving him space. "Rest if you must, human. But know this, the final trials are coming. They will test everything, your courage, your mind, your body, and perhaps they will test the true strength of humanity." Jack sank to the ground, finally allowing himself a brief moment to breathe. Pain ached in every muscle, but he felt a strange satisfaction. He had survived not by brute force, but by using the most human weapon of all, ingenuity. He knew the challenges ahead would be harder, more dangerous, and possibly lethal, but he also knew one thing clearly. No alien squad, no matter how skilled or deadly, could predict the limits of human courage and creativity. And as night fell over the jagged, alien landscape, Jack Mercer prepared himself. The squad might have surrounded him, but he was no ordinary human. And the next part of this battle, one that would test him like never before, was about to begin. The alien squad had withdrawn slightly, giving Jack Mercer a brief moment to catch his breath. Sweat poured down his face, his muscles ached, and the jagged rocks around him were slick with dust and small traces of blood. But Jack's mind was racing. He had survived half the squad's attacks, and he knew the real test was still ahead. The aliens were not just predators, they were intelligent, disciplined, and deadly. Each of their moves was measured, each strike carefully planned. Yet they had underestimated the most important weapon of all, the human mind. Jack rose slowly, scanning the battlefield. The jagged terrain offered both danger and opportunity. Sharp rocks could serve as cover, narrow crevices could trap attackers, and the remains of his ship could be used as improvised weapons or distractions. He touched the blaster at his hip, checking its energy levels. Still usable, but not for long. This fight was not going to be won by brute force. Every move would require thought, timing, and courage. From the shadows of the jagged rocks, one of the aliens stepped forward. Its armor was a dark, reflective green, and it carried a long, curved blade that pulsed with energy. The alien moved with a grace that was both beautiful and terrifying, its every step calculated. Jack didn't flinch. He had learned to read movement patterns, to anticipate attacks, to turn danger into opportunity. The alien lunged with lightning speed. Jack rolled to the side, letting the blade slice through the air where he had been standing moments before. Sparks flew as the weapon struck rock. Jack darted behind a jagged outcrop, using it as cover, and then hurled a piece of debris with precise timing. The metal struck the alien's knee joint, causing it to stumble slightly. In that moment, Jack leapt forward using his weight and momentum to push the alien into a shallow crevice. The alien hissed, its blade scraping against stone, but it did not attack blindly. Instead, it assessed the situation, its glowing eyes studying him carefully. Jack smiled briefly. Humans had survived by using their environment, by turning weakness into strength. This alien was strong, fast, and intelligent, but it was still predictable. He had learned that observation and strategy could overcome raw power. From the semicircle, the alien leader watched silently, its expression unreadable. Jack could feel its scrutiny, a careful measurement of his skills, his courage, and his ingenuity. He knew he had gained a small advantage, but the battle was far from over. The squad still had several fighters who had yet to test him, and each one would be deadlier than the last. Another alien stepped forward. This one was taller, with arms that ended in long, sharp claws, each crackling faintly with energy. Its approach was silent, almost ghostly, as if it was gliding above the ground. Jack adjusted his stance, crouching low. He had no illusions. This opponent required speed, timing, and cleverness. He couldn't match it in raw strength, but he could make it make mistakes. The alien struck first, its claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. Jack ducked, rolled, and twisted, narrowly avoiding the attacks. Each movement required careful thought, each dodge a calculated risk. The alien was fast, but it relied on rhythm. Jack let it overextend, then struck at its leg with a jagged piece of metal, causing it to stumble. Sparks flew as energy arced from the claws to the rock beside him. Jack pressed his advantage. He darted between rocks, using the terrain to limit the alien's reach. The creature hissed in frustration, clearly unaccustomed to an opponent who could predict its moves and turn the environment into a weapon. Jack knew he couldn't afford to be careless. One slip, one misstep, and the alien could end him in an instant. But Jack also knew that fear was not an option. Humans survived because they adapted, because they faced danger with courage, and because they never gave up. He adjusted his footing, ready for the next strike. The alien lunged again, faster than before. Jack rolled under its claws, striking at the base of its arm, and then pushed it into a jagged outcrop. The alien hissed and recoiled, clearly impressed by the human's skill. The leader's voice came through the translator. "You are extraordinary human. Few survive even a single encounter. Your mind protects you more than your body. But will it protect you from the rest?" Jack nodded, not out of humility, but out of determination. "It will," he said simply, "because humans never stop thinking and we never give up." The alien squad watched silently, each member calculating, analyzing, and adjusting. Jack noticed something subtle, a slight hesitation in their formation, a measure of caution he had not seen before. They had underestimated him at first, but now they were learning. Every move he made forced them to adapt, and adaptation required thought. The next alien approached. Its armor was a deep violet, sleek and almost organic, and its weapon resembled a long spear that crackled with energy. Jack knew this one relied on reach and precision. He crouched low, ready to dodge, to roll, to strike at the right moment. The alien lunged, its spear flashing in the dim light. Jack rolled to the side, letting it overextend, then sprang up, striking at the alien's leg with a jagged piece of metal. Sparks flew, and the alien hissed in surprise. Jack realized something important. Each alien had a weakness, not in their strength or weapons, but in their predictability. They assumed humans would be overwhelmed by power, speed, and weapons. They did not expect creativity, courage, and quick thinking. And in that moment, Jack understood the greatest weapon he possessed, the human mind. Hours seemed to pass in the blink of an eye. Jack fought, dodged, and improvised, using every skill he had learned as a soldier. He used the terrain to his advantage, turned debris into weapons, and exploited every weakness he could find. The aliens were strong, but they were not invincible. And Jack, human though he was far from ordinary. The alien leader stepped forward again, its glowing eyes fixed on him. "You are remarkable, human. Perhaps it is your mind that has kept you alive. Perhaps it is your courage. Or perhaps it is something more. Something no alien has understood until now." Jack straightened, ignoring the exhaustion that threatened to pull him down. "Humans survive," he said. "Not because we are the strongest, not because we are the fastest, but because we never give up. We adapt, we learn, and we fight back no matter the odds." The leader's eyes seemed to flicker with a strange light, almost as if it were considering his words carefully. The squad shifted slightly, giving him space. They were no longer attacking recklessly. They were cautious, studying him and perhaps even learning from him. Jack knew the night would bring new challenges. The squad still had fighters who had not yet tested him, each one more dangerous than the last. But he also knew something crucial. Humans were not predictable. They could adapt, innovate, and survive in ways that aliens could not always foresee. And that, more than any weapon, more than any strength or speed, was what made them dangerous. As darkness fell over the jagged landscape, Jack took a moment to breathe. Pain coursed through his body and blood stained his suit, but he felt a strange sense of satisfaction. He had faced impossible odds and survived. He had fought creatures far stronger and faster than himself and lived, and in doing so he had shown a truth that few in the galaxy would ever forget. Humans were resilient, clever, and brave. The alien leader spoke again. "Rest if you must, human. The final trials are coming. They will test your courage, your mind, and your body. They will test the very essence of what it means to be human. And perhaps if you survive, you will teach us a lesson no alien has ever learned before." Jack nodded, settling behind a large rock, his mind already racing. The squad might have surrounded him, but he was no ordinary human. He was a survivor. He was a fighter. And the next battle, though it would be harder, would be another opportunity to prove what humans were truly capable of. And as the night deepened over the alien planet, Jack Mercer prepared himself. The fight was far from over, but he was ready, because humans, even alone and outnumbered, had a way of turning the impossible into victory. The jagged landscape of the alien planet was quiet now, but Jack Mercer knew better than to trust silence. He had survived the first rounds of attacks through speed, cunning, and observation, but the alien squad still had a few fighters he hadn't faced. Each one would be stronger, faster, and more cunning than the last. He could feel the eyes of the squad on him, glowing in the dim light, studying every move, every breath. They were learning, adjusting, but Jack had learned more from them than they knew. He shifted carefully behind a jagged boulder, his muscles aching, his suit scuffed and blood-stained. The wind carried a low, almost musical hum from the distant energy field surrounding the planet. He could feel it in his chest, a vibration that made his teeth chatter slightly, but he focused on the task ahead. One wrong step now and everything could end. But Jack did not panic. Panic would get him killed. Observation, patience, and strategy were his greatest weapons. The alien leader stepped forward, motioning for the remaining squad members to advance. "You have survived more than any human should," it said, its voice calm but filled with an intensity that made Jack's stomach tighten. "Perhaps it is time to see if your mind alone can keep you alive." Jack nodded subtly, already planning. The remaining aliens were fewer, but each was larger, stronger, and carried weapons more deadly than the ones he had faced. One had a heavy energy cannon strapped to its back, capable of firing bursts that could vaporize rock. Another had twin whips that could slice through metal, and the last moved silently, almost as if it were a shadow, carrying long blades that hummed with energy. Jack assessed the battlefield. The jagged terrain could be turned to his advantage. He could force the heavier alien to misfire its cannon by luring it into narrow crevices. The one with whips could be baited into striking rocks, creating openings. And the silent one, he would have to rely on sound and movement to anticipate its attacks. He took a deep breath, letting the human instinct to survive sharpen his senses. The first to move was the heavy cannon alien. It stomped toward him, each step sending vibrations through the ground. Jack dodged behind a boulder, watching carefully. The alien fired a blast and the rock exploded into shards. Jack had predicted this. He rolled out of the way and grabbed a piece of jagged metal from the debris. He hurled it at the alien's legs, causing it to stumble slightly. Sparks flew, and Jack used the opening to dart behind another rock, forcing the alien into a narrow gap. Its cannon was too large to aim accurately, and it missed its target. Next, the whip alien lunged, its twin energy whips crackling dangerously. Jack ducked and rolled, letting it overextend. He grabbed a rock and threw it strategically, causing the alien to recoil. Using the moment, he darted forward, striking at the base of one whip with a piece of metal. The alien hissed and retreated, clearly frustrated. Jack had learned a key principle. Force alone could not defeat him, but cleverness could. The silent one moved next. Jack sensed it more than he saw it, hearing the soft brush of energy against rocks. He stayed low, moving carefully, relying on instinct. The alien struck suddenly, blades flashing. Jack rolled, dodging narrowly, then grabbed a loose shard of metal from the ground. He flung it with precision, distracting the alien long enough to dart behind a boulder. The alien hissed in surprise. Humans could be cunning. Jack realized something important as he caught his breath. The squad was learning from him. They had started cautiously, confident in their superior strength, but now they hesitated. Every move Jack made forced them to think, to adjust, to question their assumptions. And humans, he thought, thrived on adaptation. The alien leader spoke again. You are unlike any human we have faced. Your mind, your courage, and your adaptability are extraordinary. But can they survive the final challenge? Jack wiped sweat from his visor. I don't know, he said, keeping his voice calm. But I do know that humans survive when they refuse to quit. That is our greatest strength. The leader's eyes glowed brighter, as if considering this carefully. The remaining squad members circled him, their movements careful, precise, and slightly hesitant. Jack noticed their formation had changed. They were no longer attacking recklessly. They were testing him, measuring him, learning from every reaction. He realized the next move would not be just about physical combat. It would be about strategy, psychology, and patience. Jack used the terrain again. He led the cannon alien into a narrow canyon, where its shots ricocheted uselessly off jagged rocks. Then he baited the whip alien into striking a sharp rock, causing its energy to scatter. Finally, he forced the silent one to reveal itself by tossing small rocks in its path, creating movement it could not ignore. Each maneuver bought him time, energy, and a small advantage. He crouched behind a large boulder, breathing heavily. His muscles screamed in protest, but his mind was sharp. He had learned the aliens' patterns, their strengths, and their weaknesses. He had survived against overwhelming odds, and now he could use his knowledge to turn the tide further. The leader gestured, and the squad paused. You have survived every test so far, human, it said. Few beings would have lasted as long. But the final trial will test your mind, your courage, and your ability to survive under impossible pressure. Jack nodded slowly. I'm ready, he said. Do your worst. The leader's eyes glowed, and then it stepped aside, signaling for the remaining squad members to advance together. They moved as one, a coordinated unit, their weapons raised, ready to strike. Jack's mind raced. He couldn't fight them head-on. There were too many. But he could use his wits, his environment, and their assumptions against them. He moved quickly, placing loose rocks and debris in their path, creating small traps and obstacles. The cannon alien fired, but the blast ricocheted, giving Jack cover. The whip alien lunged, but he dodged and used the rocks to limit its strikes. The silent one moved, but he anticipated its path and stayed just out of reach. Every move was calculated, every step deliberate. Jack realized he had something the aliens did not expect: creativity under pressure. He could improvise, adapt, and turn weakness into strength. The squad, though powerful, relied on force and precision. They did not anticipate the unpredictable, and humans were masters of unpredictability. The battle continued, each movement a test of skill and strategy. Jack forced the cannon alien into a canyon, where it struggled to aim. He baited the whip alien into striking a jagged rock, scattering its energy, and he tricked the silent one into revealing its position by tossing a rock at a specific angle. One by one, he exploited their weaknesses, turning the fight into a battle of minds as much as bodies. Finally, after hours of careful strategy, clever improvisation, and relentless courage, Jack stood in the center of the jagged battlefield. The squad had been forced to step back, their weapons still raised but their movements cautious, measured, and respectful. They had underestimated him, and he had shown them something extraordinary. The leader approached, its eyes glowing with intensity. You have survived not through strength alone, it said. You have survived through intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Few humans would have lasted this long. Perhaps you're not just a survivor. Perhaps you are a teacher of what humans can truly be. Jack straightened, his body aching but his mind clear. Humans survive, he said simply. We adapt, we learn. We never give up. That is what makes us dangerous even to the strongest foes. The leader nodded slowly. Perhaps we have underestimated your kind. Perhaps there is more to humans than we realized. You have earned our respect, human. Jack felt a surge of pride, but he remained vigilant. The squad still surrounded him, and the fight was not yet over. But he had achieved something important. He had forced the aliens to see humans not just as prey, but as intelligent, courageous, and unpredictable beings. Night fell over the alien landscape, and Jack Mercer took a moment to rest, leaning against a jagged boulder. Pain and exhaustion weighed on him, but his mind remained sharp. He had survived the most dangerous encounters so far, and he had proven something essential. Humans, even alone, could face overwhelming odds and turn the impossible into victory. And as the stars glimmered in the violet sky above, Jack prepared himself for the final trials, knowing that humans had a way of surprising the universe, and that even the deadliest alien squad could not predict the strength of a human spirit. The night was heavy with tension. Jack Mercer crouched behind a jagged boulder, his suit battered and smeared with dirt and small cuts, but his mind remained sharp. The alien squad had withdrawn slightly after his clever maneuvers, their attacks cautious and measured. The leader's words still echoed in his mind. "You have earned our respect, human." But respect did not mean the fight was over. One last trial awaited him, and Jack knew it would test everything he had learned, the limits of his courage, his skill, and his mind. The alien leader stepped forward, its glowing eyes scanning him carefully. "You have survived longer than any being we have encountered," it said, voice calm but filled with authority. "But the final challenge will determine if a human mind can truly overcome the impossible." Jack nodded, steadying his breath. "I'm ready," he said simply. "Whatever it takes, I'll survive." The squad began to move again, but this time their formation was different. They advanced as one, a coordinated unit combining strength, speed, and precision. Jack observed them carefully. Each had learned from the previous encounters, adjusting their attacks, anticipating his movements. He knew he couldn't face them head-on. He had to rely on what humans did best: strategy, adaptability, and using every resource around him. The first alien lunged with a heavy energy hammer, smashing the rocks where Jack had stood moments before. Jack rolled to the side, letting the impact send shards of stone flying. He grabbed a jagged piece of debris and hurled it at the alien's legs. Sparks flew and the creature stumbled slightly. Jack darted forward, striking at the joints of its armor, forcing it to retreat. He could feel a small surge of confidence. Each alien had strength, but humans had ingenuity. The whip-wielding alien struck next, its twin energy whips cutting the air like living snakes. Jack ducked and rolled, letting it overextend. He tossed a rock to distract it, then struck at the base of one whip, causing it to falter. The alien hissed in frustration. Humans, it seemed, were more clever than it expected. From the shadows, the silent alien moved with deadly precision. Jack sensed it before he saw it, hearing the soft whisper of its approach. He crouched low, ready to react. The alien struck, blades flashing, but Jack rolled just in time, using a jagged rock for cover. He flung another piece of debris, distracting it long enough to reposition. This battle was no longer just about brute strength. It was about anticipation, observation, and creativity. Jack realized a truth that had carried him this far. Humans survived because they never gave up. They could be small, weak, or outnumbered, but ingenuity, courage, and quick thinking could overcome the most powerful enemies. The aliens relied on precision and power, but humans thrived on unpredictability, and unpredictability was a weapon no alien could fully anticipate. He began to set small traps, using the jagged terrain to his advantage. Loose rocks created noise to mislead the silent alien. Sharp edges and debris forced the hammer wielder into awkward positions. Even the whip alien had to adjust, cautious now, aware that each movement carried risk. Jack was turning the battlefield itself into a weapon. The alien leader watched silently, observing Jack's tactics. "Few humans possess such creativity under pressure," it said. "Perhaps it is not strength alone that makes your kind formidable." Jack kept moving, careful and precise, never stopping. He dodged, struck, and improvised, using every lesson from the previous encounters. Each alien advanced with caution, clearly aware that the human had learned from every strike. Jack noticed small hesitations, a subtle respect forming in their movements. They had underestimated him, and now they were adjusting, but they still sought to test him to the limit. The hammer wielder charged, its massive weapon crashing down. Jack leapt aside, rolling to gain momentum. He ducked under a swing and kicked a loose boulder into the alien's path. The creature stumbled, giving Jack an opening. With careful strikes to the joints of its armor, he forced it to back off, unable to land a decisive blow. The alien hissed but did not retreat completely. It was learning, adapting as all the others were. The whip alien struck again, its twin energy whip slicing the air dangerously close. Jack ducked and rolled, landing behind a boulder. He feinted a strike with a piece of debris, drawing the alien toward him, then pivoted, striking the base of the whip. Sparks flew, and the alien shrieked in surprise. Jack's tactics were working. His creativity, patience, and quick thinking were overcoming even the most dangerous weapons. From the darkness, the silent alien appeared, moving almost like a shadow. Jack didn't hesitate. He anticipated its strike, rolling just in time and tossed debris to create a distraction. The alien lunged, blades flashing, but Jack darted forward, striking a vulnerable joint in its armor. The creature hissed, momentarily startled. Humans, it seemed, were unpredictable in ways no alien had truly accounted for. The leader spoke again. "You are extraordinary, human. Few beings would survive this long. Few would demonstrate such courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Perhaps your species is stronger than we realized." Jack nodded, his body aching, sweat and dirt coating him, but his mind clear. "Strength isn't just about weapons or size," he said. "It's about courage, quick thinking, and refusing to give up. That is what humans are capable of, even against impossible odds." The alien squad hesitated now, their attacks measured, their movements cautious. They were learning, and Jack had turned the battlefield into a test of human ingenuity. They were no longer simply predators. They were students in a lesson about human determination. Jack moved with precision, using the terrain, debris, and even the aliens' own expectations against them. He led the hammer wielder into a narrow canyon, where its massive weapon could not swing effectively. The whip alien was forced to strike cautiously, aware that Jack could manipulate the environment. And the silent alien had to reveal its position, tricked into reacting to noise and movement he carefully controlled. Each maneuver, each improvisation, each daring move reinforced the lesson. Humans could survive through intelligence, creativity, and courage, not just physical power. Jack could feel the shift in the squad's demeanor. Hesitation, respect, and cautious observation had replaced overconfidence and aggression. Finally, after a relentless night of battle, Jack stood at the center of the jagged terrain. The squad had been forced to step back, their weapons raised but their movements careful, almost reverent. They had underestimated him, and now they understood something fundamental. Humans were not to be dismissed. The alien leader approached, its glowing eyes fixed on him. "You have survived not through raw strength," it said, "but through intellect, courage, and adaptability. Few beings would endure as you have, perhaps. Humans are more formidable than we ever imagined." Jack straightened, exhaustion heavy but determination stronger. "Humans survive," he said simply. "We adapt, we learn. We never give up. That is our greatest strength, and our most dangerous weapon." The squad lowered their weapons slightly, a silent acknowledgement of the lesson learned. The leader's eyes seemed to flicker with understanding, a recognition of something they had not fully grasped before. The human spirit, the human mind, and human courage could overcome even the deadliest odds. Jack's chest heaved, his suit torn and scorched in places, but he stood tall. He had turned the battle into a lesson, showing the alien squad that humans were more than prey. They were thinkers, survivors, and fighters. His ingenuity and courage had earned their respect, not through intimidation, but through demonstration of what humanity could achieve. The leader nodded, signaling for the squad to lower their weapons completely. "You have proven a truth we did not know," it said. "Humans are formidable, not just for strength, but for mind and courage. You have earned our respect, Jack Mercer. The trials are over." Jack allowed himself a deep breath. Exhaustion was overwhelming, but satisfaction filled him as well. He had survived. He had faced creatures stronger, faster, and deadlier than any human could typically endure, and he had prevailed. Not through raw power, but through intelligence, strategy, and courage. He had shown the universe the true strength of humanity. As the stars of the alien planet glittered above, Jack Mercer looked around at the squad that had once surrounded him. They were not enemies anymore. They were witnesses to what a human could do when backed by determination, adaptability, and the will to survive. He had earned their respect, and in doing so proved a universal truth. Humans, even when alone and outnumbered, could face the impossible and triumph. The alien leader spoke once more. "Go, human. Return to your kind. You carry a lesson we will not forget. Humans are not merely flesh and bone. They are courage, ingenuity, and relentless spirit. That is what makes them dangerous and remarkable. Jack nodded, fatigue and pride mingling within him. He turned and walked away from the battlefield, every step heavy but purposeful. He had faced the deadliest of foes, survived impossible odds, and demonstrated what humanity was truly capable of. And as he looked back one final time, he knew that the universe had learned something it could not unsee. Humans were survivors, thinkers, and warriors, and nothing could underestimate them again.